Yeah, please make it full screen.
I'll make it. Hi everyone. Good afternoon, and sorry for not able to allow you for the lunch or something. So thanks a lot for having your patience. Uh, so I'm Neil Madhav Mohapatra, and my co-authors are Namrata Sharaf and Shapnasari Sahu. We are from India. We work in a company called Zeotaf, which is mainly into advertisement and marketing. We work in the research and development section. And today we'll be presenting our work on ensemble model for chunking. Okay, so before we start, so this is basically the agenda. So we'll first go through what is basically the chunking. Then the next part is how it is evolved to the period of time. Then we'll evaluate what were the existing state of the art of the chunking methodology. We'll see the data set on which we experimented and benchmark our methods. Then we'll see improvement which are possible on the state of the art. Then we'll see how our methodology is solving all those scope of improvement. We'll share some result, and finally we'll conclude with our findings and the future work. So the first question is it's a very known problem in NLP space, but I'll explain this thing for all those people who are not from this NLP background, just to understand what is this problem called. So the first question is what is chunking and how it is done. So the chunking as a technique, it started with from the psychology space. And so it started with something that if somebody is telling you something, right, how your brain is capturing all those insight and how it is processing. We can take a very well-known example of somebody telling you some big number over the phone. Let's suppose he's telling that number in a synchronous manner, let's suppose 652785238 it's very difficult to understand. Whereas if it is chunked into multiple sections, it's very easy to understand. Now the question is why those kind of differences are there with the chunking methodology. So chunking is basically logically separating the whole thing into meaningful ways and trying to get the grasp out of it. So in NLP, let's suppose you are given a sentence. Instead of whenever you are reading a book or you are telling somebody or you are presenting a paper or something of the other sort, your mind processes like this. So basically it try to gather all those useful information. So all those useful information can be a noun phrase, can be a topic, can be an entity or something, and then you create a sentence or something out of that. Even when the listeners are listening to you, they are also not processing all the verbs and all those things. They're only processing the topics, the processing the entity, or processing the instances which are most important to them. So this is basically the brief history of chunking. Now I'll give you a quick example how this whole thing has started. Let's take an example. The sentence is Mr. Satish Kumar bought the share of Alphabet Incorporation on June 13th or something. So this is basically the sentence. So we all know this is we have part of speech tag. So like Mr. Satish Kumar, all are like noun phrases, but this is like verb and all those things. So all part of speech tags are being associated with each token. Now, when we say we have to extract meaningful information, then we are talking about what? So we are talking about a person's name. That is Mr. Satish Kumar. So if you look into that, that's a combination of three tokens. Each token is of type noun phrase. Okay. Now, for the given sentence, if we chunk all those records, we would have what? Mr. Satish Kumar. The whole Mr. Satish Kumar is basically one person, and he bought the share of Alphabet Incorporation. So Alphabet Incorporation is one organization, and June 30 is basically one date. The question is, what is the role of chunking here? Chunking can help in many ways. The first question is, if somebody will ask you a question, who bought the shares? So the answer would be one chunk which has a meaning. That would be Mr. Satish Kumar. So if somebody will say somebody bought a share of Alphabet, that is not meaningful. If somebody says it's Alphabet Corporation as a whole, it has a meaning. So we're trying to capture, given a sentence, how to extract all those useful chunks from the sentences, because they hold the maximum meaning of the sentence. Now, if you try to see this whole task in terms of machine learning, we would see that our task is to extract the from the given sentence. To do that, what we do, we generally go for this kind of notations. Either it's a IOB notation or it's a BIO notation. Why we have this IOB or BIO notation for us? The reason being, so the BIO basically represents beginning, inside, and outside tags. So it basically would help you to get a sequential information from the text. You can know that Mr. Satish Kumar, like Mr. is a noun phrase, Satish is a noun phrase, Kumar is a noun phrase. But the question is where, like, how many noun phrase you have to club together to get a chunk. So that would be defined in terms of BIO mechanism. So if you see that in Mr. Satish Kumar, Mr. is basically the beginning. Satish Kumar would be like, Satish would be inside and Kumar would be inside. So how we process that? So generally for a chunk, we start with the beginning tag, and whatever like inside tag we are getting continuously, right? We club them together and say it's a single chunk. Same with alphabet organization. So for alphabet organization, we started with a B org tag, and then we got a inside org tag. So if you are getting multiple inside org tag, after a B org tag, we should be like clubbing them together and say, hey, alphabet incorporation is just one chunk. So in terms of machine learning, now what we have a whole sequence, and every sequence has one tag. So if you look into that, Mr. has a tag called B person, Satish has a tag called I person, Kumar has a tag called I person, and so on. All the tags, all the tokens which are not important for our task are basically given an outside tag option, like, or we can also give any other tag. So basically which are not the point of interest for our task. Now the whole thing becomes a classification task for a sequence level. We have a sequence, and then for every set of sequence, we have to classify. Fair enough. Now we'll go to the evolution of chunking, like how the chunking were done before, what is the current state of the art, and like what else we can do to improve this. So if you look into the evolution of chunking, you like chunking started from like rule-based chunking. Rule-based chunking is what? Maybe somebody would say particular kind of grammar would be defined to extract a chunk from the text. Maybe you would get a text where there are POS tags, and there would be a regular expression saying any noun phrase followed by multiple noun phrase would be clubbed together to create a noun phrase chunk. So that can be rule based. Then we have statistical methods. What is statistical methods? So we have annotated corpus where we have each tags associated with each token. Then we can use something like use all like any statistical method to formulate this problem. Like we can use a like hidden Markov model where we use incident probability or transition probability to capture all those information, and laterly we build a beta bit tree to make a prediction. So that would be statistical method. A statistical method. Now with the increasing use of deep learning and all, right? So we started using sequential model, right? Like recurrent neural network and LSTM. So what is the benefit of recurrent neural network or LSTM? So recurrent neural network or LSTM are basically techniques to encode your context so that so let's try to understand what exactly is our task. So basically, given a token, we have to predict the class. But the token, the class for that particular token basically depends on its context. The context means the neighboring word for that particular word. Whatever neighboring word are there, basically define the context. And depending upon that neighboring word, we make a prediction. So RNN and LSTM are actually used to embed those neighboring contexts so that you can take a prediction based on the contextual information present. Whereas recurrent neural network is very poor in like remembering long sequences. Then we have something called long short-term memory, which uses some memory variables to overcome all those problems. so that we can remember more context or more longer context, so that it would be easier to predict a class even if the context is present farly. Then we have something called bidirectional LSTM. Bidirectional LSTM is something where the context is not only dependent on the words which are present before, but also it is dependent on the words which are coming after. Because sometimes if we feel that sentence is represented in such a way that the main information comes at the end, and that information has huge impact on on the classification task. So for that reason, taking the multiple context into account, we use bidirectional LSTM. The use of CNN is nothing. CNN is generally used for local optimization tasks. So when we have a chunk information, to get the gist out of it, we use the convolution in terms of the embedding present in the contextual space. So this is something very similar to the CNN network we use for the image recognition process. Like in image, if you want to recognize a shape or something, what we do, we do a convolution and say, hey, this line actually represents the line of the eye. How we are getting this information? By locally optimizing the pixel values. The same way we use CNN is basically a 1DC, one dimensional convolution on the sequence to get what is the local optimal information present for this chunk. Now we'll talk about what is the state of the art of chunking at this point of time. At this point of time, the state of the art is basically BERT, or one is like robotly optimized BERT. So what is, let's discuss what is BERT. We have this is, then we're basically discussing the pre-existing state of the art. This by LSTM and CNN is actually an older paper. Then we have a modified version which is called BERT. So let's talk about what is the problem of bidirectional and bi-LSTM plus CNN network, which we overcome in BERT. So BERT is basically a attention-based framework. So what do we say about attention-based framework? So attention means in a sentence, let's suppose in LSTM or in bidirectional LSTM, we are trying to club the whole context into one embedding, or so a hidden vector or something. Let's suppose for bidirectional LSTM, for predicting a single thing, maybe we take the contextual embedding from both the sides. One hidden vector from the left side, one hidden vector from the right side. Then we concatenate them together and make a prediction based on the hidden information available to us. But the thing is, here we are taking all those information into an embedding. But in attention framework, what we do is we try to capture the attention or the impact of one word on another. So if you look into the whole framework of attention-based model, we try to calculate all pairwise information value for each word onto another. So in BERT, what we do, we use multi-head attentions. Means the attention is not a single span, it's basically multiple way span. And then we take the aggregation and we take a call on top of that embedding. What is the benefit of this model, BERT model? This benefit of BERT model is that we can actually, if we have enough computation power, then we can resolve the context of infinitely large sentences. Even if the context is like far-fetched, we can say, okay, we can take on that attention and make a prediction on a word which is like farly present. But the assumption here is we have enough computation power. Now, for our task, we basically use two data sets. These are all open data set, which are available for, I think, mostly for all NLP based tasks. We use Cornell dataset and PentriBank dataset. So I think this is like well known. So the Cornell dataset is widely used for, I think this is for any recognition or noun phrase chunking, and PentriBank is a sequence leveling dataset. So these are the two datasets which you use to benchmark our methodology. So now we discussed there was a straight apart by LSTM plus CNN. Then we have BERT or robotly optimized BERT. Now, before going into the improvement, let's see where was the scope, like what exactly the problem already existing, which we solved using, which we can solve using any new methodologies. So let's discuss about the problem of bi LSTM plus CNN. As discussed before, bi LSTM plus CNN has what? limited memory, and it fails to capture context in a long sentences because what, we have very limited memory in hand. Let's suppose some set of variables we have to capture all those information in a sentence. So if the sentence is too long, we will be unable to capture all those information inside those small memory spaces. That is the problem with BiLSTM and CNN. Then let's discuss the problem about Robota. So Robota is actually a very good technique where you use attention mechanism and we solve all those problem with infinitely long contextual spaces, but it fails to classify the chunk positions correctly. So what are the chunk position and all those things? I'll explain it in the next slide. And what problem we have? We have POS tag misclassification for lengthy chunks. So if you look into the sentences, this is basically the outcome of Cornell dataset using Robota method. So we use Robota pre-trained model and we make those predictions. Now, what you are observing from this outcome, if you see, these are the misclassified examples. But what exactly is misclassifying? If you look into that, we are able to classify what is the beginning tag, what is the inside tag, and all those things. But the POS tag associated with it is actually incorrect. So that basically gives rise to this problem that for chunks, even if POS tag can be easily predicted using neural network methods, but giving the POS tags as an input might improve the task efficiency even further. The reason being, you can see it in this observation. You see the tags being correctly classified, but they have false POS tags. That's the reason we'll not able to chunk them correctly into particular places. So if you look into this prediction, we have 6% of our sentences which had this kind of problems, and 3% of tags, which 3 to 4% actually, 3 point something, got misclassified. And out of them, 25% of tag has this kind of issues. They had correct BIO tags, but they had misclassified POS tags. Now from that, we inherited our approach, like how to incorporate this POS information so at the end of the day, will result in a good chunk from the given sentences. So basically from here, we try to inherit the solution. What can be the solution? So from the last slide, we can very much understand we need somewhere to give explicit POS tag information that can be helpful. But the question is where to put this information, which architecture we have to provide this information. So we choose BiLSTM plus CNN model to take an additional POS tag information. Now you can ask why we choose BiLSTM plus CNN method, because BiLSTM and CNN method basically try, like the CNN would give emphasis to the local vicinity, and here we don't need to remember too much of the context. Why? We only need to remember what is the POS tag of current, like vicinity 234 tokens. We don't need to remember the context for the whole sentences. So why we use BiLSTM and CNN? We use BiLSTM because we need context only till like near 2-3 vicinity token, and we use CNN to locally optimize the result. So this is basically our model B. So what is our model B? Model B, we have a query, and for each token we have the POS tag, and we gave this POS tag to BiLSTM and CNN framework. How BiLSTM and CNN framework is like works and do the prediction, you can refer the literature. It's the state of the art for, like, I think it was a published paper from IBM, and it's the state of the art 2-3 years back. This is our model B. Now, if we just use model B, then again we fall back to the trap that we solve the problem of misclassifying the token, misclassifying the POS tags, but we still have the problem of solving infinite length contexts. So for that, we already knew that Robota model was working absolutely fine. So we need to now, if you look into that, we have another model which takes queries and tags, use Robota tokenizer, Robota embedding, and we do the classification. For that, we use a pre-trained Robota model, which already proved in the past to have solved the problem of infinite length context information on the given word. So now we have two models. One model, model A, which is solving the problem of context. One model, model B, which is solving the context of tag misclassification. Now we designed the ensemble model. So the ensemble model is something like this. So this is basically you can say it's a simple logistic layer. So we have two deep layers, and the output of that would be provided to a logistic layer. And you can say this output O1 and O2 are basically these two outputs are we have got from two different models. One is from model 1 and one is from model B. And W1 and W2 are actually trained as a part of the training. So we learned W1 and W2, and then we use all those W1 and W2 to make the prediction. So this is basically the result which we got on the public available dataset. On Cornell dataset, we actually beat the state of the art, which were with only Robota, they were getting 96.76% accuracy. This is basically the F1 score for the unbalanced classes, and 97.3 we got on the ensemble model. And for the sequence leveling task on the Pentry data bank, we got somewhere around 98.4% of accuracy. Now we'll talk about the conclusion we got from this whole modeling space. We got two conclusions here. One is for the chunking task, sometimes it's necessary to give the information like US tag on the beforehand. And we did it with BiLSTM, which takes local information into account and also preserve the vicinity contexts. Then we can also get this information that ensembling model on LSTM with Robota work because one tries to solve the problem with US tag misclassification, and the another methodology tries to solve the infinite context spaces. These are the two conclusions which we got. Now, what else we can do with this findings? In future, we applied this mechanism into chunking tasks. We were planning to use the same methodology into other NLP tasks like translation, summarization, entailment, and sentiment analysis, and all those kind of tasks, so that we can see whatever is our finding can be replicated in all of the tasks or not. So it would give us an idea whether this architecture is scaling or not, how robust it is, and how efficiently we can apply it into multiple domains. Okay, so thank you. So if you have any question.